We needed a really remarkable place to have the culmination of the love affair between Vesper and Bond.
Venice came up because it felt appropriate emotionally for Bond and Vesper's relationship to collapse in this sinking city.
Venice has its own complications, and a beautiful city that it is. Everything has to go by boat.
First of all, we're at the height of the tourist season, makes it very difficult for the crew, but also for the tourists. You know, they don't like being interrupted, and why should they? This happens to be a sequence where Daniel runs across the square, so we had something like 400 extras of our own.
Shooting here in St. Mark's Square is logistically very complicated, certainly one of the biggest tourist attractions in the world.
Trying to shoot in St. Mark's Square with 1,000 people already in the square, you can't get rid of them, obviously. Well, it wasn't easy. It was a tough shoot, Venice.
People have got, you know, they're on holiday. So why not stand around and watch a film crew for a couple of hours?
Real, actually, because so many movies have been shot there. It was just mythical, and felt really like a Bond girl.
Really, it's back to work next Monday. We've got this incredible set of Pinewood built now, which is built on a gimbal, and it's going to be fantastic, but it's going to be very tricky to work on.
Well, the final episode of the action episode of the film involves a sinking house.
We saw a documentary about the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and it had that these British engineers had put a kind of bladder underneath it to prop it up in the ground. So that gave us the idea of putting balloons and inflatable things to shore up a sinking palazzo. As soon as James Bond's in a place like that and bullets are going off,
It was an inspired idea because I had grave doubts about it to start with. I mean, okay, so a house sinks, so what? What does that mean? I felt it wasn't spectacular, but as it turned out, it's probably the best sequence in the movie.
You do wonder how you're going to shoot a sequence involving a sinking house on the Grand Canal. And we have a pretty clever group. Chris Cobalt and his boys have built at the 007 stage the interior of the house above tanks of water with all kinds of equipment to make it tilt and to rock it and to bring it down into the water.
Listening, paying attention, hold the work. Okay, we're going on to a set now which sinks into the water about 18 feet and also tilts on both axes. Now there's some things you ought to know about the set. Anybody climbing over the outside of it? The date today is the 5th of December, and we first get into the 007 stage on the 3rd of January, so we've got a month before we can get in there. We will eventually be filming somewhere around the end of June.
There was a complication of where we were going to do it, how we were going to do it. Of course, we did look in Prague to see if there were any spaces big enough. It was impossible, and it was agreed then we should use the 007 stage.
What we're having to do at the moment is prefab a lot of the beams and steel work so that we can go in as soon as we get the stage. We can go straight into there with a lot of guys and get this framework up very quickly. Initially we went to Martin Campbell, and you know, I felt that although we could take it up and down, it'd be nice to have some sideways movement in it so we could tilt it. You know, so if the bags went along this side, it would tilt down that way. Martin, bless him, wanted to take it one step further and wanted it to be tilted on all axes, so we had to put in another movement there. So we've got this whole thing going down, going through two axes into the water. So he has the choice of whatever angle it goes down, as well as sinking at the same time, so it's moving as it goes down.
It's loosely designed on the interior of the Daniele. The Daniele is an amazing hotel, but it's not just a normal hotel, it was an old palace. When you look up, you've got these various stairways, balconies, and you could make it as dull as ditch water, or you could make it, I think, hopefully reasonably spectacular.
Well, he does think big, Peter. When they first talked about the sinking room, I thought it'd be about 30 foot square and about, 2 stories high. My jaw dropped when I saw the size of this thing. We've attempted some large pieces before, but this is probably twice the size of anything we've attempted before. And you know, I comfort myself at night by thinking, well, if we can do it this big, we can do it full size, and that's what's getting me through it at the moment.
Well, this is the location for our sinking house. This is where it's going to be. It'll be shot from this side of the river. It'll be a plate shot. We've built, back in the studio, we've built a model of this streetscape behind us. Basically, we've got the 2 bookend buildings, as we call them. The terracotta one in the middle will be replaced completely with a model, and that's actually the one that we'll see collapse in the film. You won't see that terracotta building at all.
We wanted to get some form of bubble effect around the base of the house, as though the house was going down and the airbags supporting it were giving way. So what we've done is we've put 6 giant compressors onto 3 barges, and having 18 hose pipes coming off, which are going to be held underwater with weights, with buoys to point the nozzles up underwater.
Basically, it's at 3rd scale. The reason we're at 3rd scale is because water still scales okay at that, and also, you know, we can use traditional construction methods at that sort of size, and then the dressing becomes the real sort of.
The guys have worked solidly on it, you know, for months and months and months now. It's nice to see all their hard work come to fruition. It's very rewarding.
biggest problem we've had is the limitation of weight. The normal way would have been to do it in flats and plaster, but of course now we're going to have a lot of water, and it was suggested that we would do it with fiberglass to keep it light, rigid, and also water impermeable.
Eva, are your ears clear? Good. And get yourself set. That's a good starting position. And remember, this time, exactly the same action, but with some bubbles, so some special effects bubbles coming up from your feet.
I had to learn how to control my breathing underwater because she's struggling in the cage. And it was quite scary at the beginning, you know, like without any air. And I think it's going to be because I rehearsed in very clear water, and I've heard it's going to be quite dirty, murky, you know. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be quite scary.
And when you're ready, float away. And cut.
Can you start playing the 2-inch score in space? Okay, everybody speak back and like all the little
Right, stand by, here we go. And 3, 2, 1, action!
I remember when Barbara was saying, well, where's the storyboards, Martin? Where's the storyboards? And of course I was bluffing, saying, oh yes, I'll do them, thinking in my head I'll never be able to storyboard any of this, not least of all because I hadn't really seen the set properly. Secondly, I didn't know, what the restrictions were going to be, because, the set basically didn't have a floor. It was all water with a little bit of few beams around and so forth. But, and I never did get to storyboard it. The point was I just used to go in and plan it and work with Gary and the stunt boys, and we worked the fight out progressively what had to happen. And we filmed it under very trying and difficult conditions.
Well, what we've done is we spent a bit of time on there with Chris Corbell, got it moving all over its place to see what it could actually move, where the breakaways are, what we could do with them. So we're lucky enough for us, we can actually do all the drops for real. We haven't got to put any wire rigs on there at all. So it's actually sort of made it a bit simpler for us, because we can actually literally have people fall through the floorboards into the water, or the double can jump onto the balcony. When that gives way again, he falls into the water. So it's, it makes it a lot easier for us.
Hitting water from anything above 30 feet kind of hurts a bit. So talk to them about it. I'm sure they'd say, yeah, yeah, it doesn't hurt at all.
Well, the set is basically got very little room to move because the floors have all been destroyed, so it's all water from the Grand Canal in story terms, and everything is crumbling and falling apart. It's very slippery. The elevator, you catch a little bit of it behind me. That has to crash over while while Evergreen is inside of it. It crashes into the water. Bond goes to save. So pretty exciting stuff, but a very, very difficult set to work in.
And it's extraordinary. I mean, it's beyond reality. I mean, but it has enough of a real edge to it. It's quite confined. I mean, it's a very confined space. So we're working very closely together, and it's once you're on it, you can't get off. And again, a great thing is that we're not using huge amounts of CGI, so I'm not reacting to things that aren't there. And the stuff that's falling from the ceiling is genuinely, stuff that's falling from the ceiling.
Quite scary because Vespa is stuck in the elevator and it's dropping. No matter how much you trust those people, you can't help thinking, my God, it's going to drop for real.
3, 2, 1, action! Well done, special effects. Well done, everybody. Great job. Thank you very much. We're moving on.
I'm quite dreading the underwater stuff, but I'm sure we'll be surrounded by good people. But it's just, I'm sure it's going to be quite murky, and I'm short-sighted, so it's going to be like in a nightmare.
It's actually rather fantastic filming underwater because nobody can talk to you, and it's quite nice, really. You're just quiet and alone, and it's quite good. It's meditative. You can sit under there for hours.
Three, two,
Dan, that was excellent from Martin.
Ava, what was lovely? I've never done it before, so I mean it was a very interesting exercise to go through, and it's just difficult. We've got to get the bubbles right because the house is supposed to be sinking and it's throwing up all sorts of turbulence. You know, you can't rush it. It just has to be done with patience.
This is Dan, landing to Ava. I'm round on a mid.
I'm sorry, James.